And welcome to another episode of Some of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Jim. So, Lindsay, what did you pick for us this week to watch?
Well, we are staying in football theme since it is still sort of the beginning of football season. And I went back to a movie that was a favorite of mine as a kid. They made it here in Maryland, so it felt extra special. Although now I realize it is capitalist anti-union propaganda. It is The Replacement from the year 2000.
Ooh, okay. All right. So, did you see the movie at the theater then? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I did with my dad.
Okie doke.
And it was another one that I think, came on TV. We got it at Blockbuster. But it was
Gotcha.
especially exciting because, like I said, they made it in Baltimore. If you are a person from Baltimore and you watch this movie, so it's supposed to take place in DC, and they make almost no effort to make it look like DC, which we know is possible because there are multiple shows like Veep and House of Cards that are filmed primarily in Baltimore that are set in DC, but they also use footage of DC. I think there is perhaps one shot in this movie that shows like the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. And other than that, it's like all Baltimore. It's just comical that they made no, like, all the football scenes are at the Ravens Stadium. If you look at the seats, they are purple, which like would beg the question, why is this red and blue team have purple seats in their stadium?
Well, I would have thought, yeah, that they might have tried to incorporate purple into the team's uniforms.
Right? Or like, can you like color correct it or something?
Well,
Because like they still look purple.
and at the beginning of the movie, I wrote down the team is based in Washington, and I get it. It's supposed to be a fictional team. They're the Sentinels. Is that
The
the?
Washington Sentinels.
But in their first uniforms, they're silver and blue. They look like Dallas Cowboy uniforms to me. Or at
Yeah,
least
they have a
I
little red.
a little red. Okay, so
Hmm.
but yeah, they sort of look. I was like, why do they all look like the Dallas Cowboys, and they're supposed to be
Yeah.
in
They
Washington?
look more like a mix of like the Giants and the Cowboys,
Yeah, okay, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good
I think.
analogy. I didn't think about that. Yeah, so the
But yeah,
Giants.
it's like so much. And but yeah, just like the footage, it's like clearly the outside of Ravens Stadium. It's the Shane Falco, the main character, has a boat. He's in the Inner Harbor. Like, this is not in DC. Uh, but that was a cool thing, I think, for people here. Like, there were people I
Sure.
knew that like were extras in the movie because they called for extras to come to the stadium.
Oh, cool.
And as we have mentioned multiple times, my dad is a high school football coach. At the time, he coached at a school that was not that far from Baltimore, and they practiced all the football stuff at the school that he worked at. So they used the stadium there to practice. They used
Oh,
their cafeteria, and my dad like saw that happening, and for some reason didn't think to bring me. They used the locker rooms, like they used the
what?
stadium, they used the cafeteria, and my dad did not bring me. And I'm pretty certain this was the summer. So I wasn't doing anything but being a child at my babysitter's house, like watching Price is Right. Like I could have
Eh,
seen Keanu Reeves potentially.
So they didn't film there at the high school, but they were using it to practice and get
Yes.
some of the moves and or get some of the things down. So
Yeah.
so it
That's
wasn't like you were going to be in the way of filming.
right. Like if my dad was there, why couldn't I be there too?
Like,
Like my dad
hey,
wasn't in the movie.
here's the coach of the high school where we're rehearsing at, and oh, by the way, this is his daughter.
Right.
Hey, how's it going?
Exactly. Exactly. My dad at the time, he does not remember this now, so I don't know if this was true or if he was just lying to me then. But he did tell me that he saw Keanu Reeves get lit up, like when they were practicing stuff.
Oh, like get hit.
Now, yes, did that really happen, or was he just telling a 9-year-old child fables and lies? Unclear, because I asked him about it now and he does not remember.
doesn't remember
He does
that.
not remember that happening.
Oh, I
He
was
doesn't
going to
remember
say
if he saw that happen.
he doesn't remember telling you that.
He says he does not remember that he saw that if he saw that happen. So unclear. Perhaps my dad in the year 2000 was lying to me, but that is something that I held on to for a long time because I was like, Dad, you were going to work and seeing Keanu Reeves, and you did not think to bring me. And this is like, again, this movie came out in 2000. So do you know what movie came out shortly before this? The Matrix. Like this is we're at like peak Keanu. And like
Right.
I had seen Bill and Ted. I had not seen Speed, but like still I saw some of the hits.
Well,
I knew who Keanu Reeves was.
mm-hmm.
I thought he would have been
Unbel-
nice to me. Everyone says he's
unbelievable.
nice.
So have you forgiven your father for this transgression?
I'm still
Ooh.
kind of holding on to it a little bit, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
This is like my like bargaining chip one day.
Gotcha.
Like, hey
Okay.
dad, remember when you didn't take me to see Keanu Reeves
Mm-hmm. So,
and you could have?
and you could have, right. And not
To
really
like a
gone out of
nursing
your
home.
way. Um, yeah.
Exactly. I hope you like this nursing home.
The one that got a 1-star rating.
Just kidding. Love my dad. But yeah, no, I was like, Dad, what
No,
the
no,
heck?
I get it. So
Um,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not
so
like he even had to take you out of school. You said it was during the summertime, so
yeah, yeah. But yeah, and I think it's a fun movie. It's sort of a fun. It's in the vein of like The Little Giants, right? With this sort of like ragtag group of misfits coming together. Which I think,
I
well,
even
not even just Little Giants. Little Giants is one we've talked about, but like sports movies across the years, right? There's always the like ragtag underdog. Let's just gather these sort of like leftover people and put them on a team and try to see what they can do. So in this movie, the replacements, this is why I say it's capitalist propaganda. Uh, and they are portrayed as the good guys, to be clear. They are scabs. So in this fictional universe, the professional football players, they don't call it the NFL, obviously, because that's they would have had to pay money. But professional football players are on strike for more compensation. They are portrayed as the villains throughout the movie because they are greedy for wanting more money from the apparently benevolent owners of the team. They're fine. The owners are good guys. They're fine. So the league hires a bunch of scabs. Scabs, if you don't know, are people that are hired to replace striking union workers. So they hire a bunch of scabs, and it's like also like they treat being called a scab like it's like a slur, and it's like,
hmm
well, that's what you are. You are a scab.
right.
You're undermining these people striking for better wages. And like, here, listen, football players make a lot of money. Football players can also only work for like a very short window of time. And then their brains twist cheese and their body doesn't work. So they do need to save some money for the eventual serious medical care they're going to need in the future. So I don't begrudge them. I do more begrudge the owners who get tax breaks from cities to build stadiums that displace people. They're the villains. Let's all unite against them. The professional football players are not the villains. It's the owners who wants to pay them a little bit more money. Like, come on. That's like I'm supposed to root for Jerry Jones? Get out of here.
I get you. So,
But anyways, so the movie is about they hire scab replacement players to play like the rest of like the regular season, basically. Um, at which point the strike just stops, which I thought was weird. But anyways,
yeah.
um, so yeah, it's a lot of people who it sort of is this like montage is kind of like in We Are Marshall where they're like, okay, we can't get any like real football players, so let's like see what we can draw from. So we have like a soccer player as a kicker, right? We have a sumo wrestler as a lineman. We have two big bouncer guys who used to play football as linemen. We have a really fast guy who can't catch as a receiver, which okay. We have this SWAT team dude as like a D lineman. And then we also have Shane Falco. who throughout the movie we know was a star quarterback at Ohio State until he's fully choked in the Sugar Bowl. Literally, like every person that meets him, they're like, "Oh man, remember that Sugar Bowl?" And he's like, "Yes, love it when you keep talking about it." It is like they talk about he basically like just fully like fell apart
Evidently.
in a bowl
Yeah.
game. So he was really good until then, and then obviously his career went nowhere. So it's just this group of people that they assemble, and they're like, well, hopefully we can get some wins. And the object, there's like a few games that they're going to play in, and if they win those games, they can get into the playoffs. And at which point, then they're like done. I'm not
And
sure of the terms of the strike, which I thought it was very abrupt that they were like, oh, by the way, strike over tomorrow.
I read it was loosely based on when the NFL did have a strike, and
Yeah.
when the Redskins had replacement players and had won all three of their games using,
Yeah.
a sort of backup squad, which I
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
remember that year.
Of course, the Redskins hired replacement players.
Hey, they won the Super Bowl. That's all that matters.
Okay. This is before my time. And then there was, I think, also I guess there was a quarterback controversy after that mirrors the one in this
Mm-hmm.
movie between Doug Williams and Jay Schroeder.
Right.
Well, before I get into like the plot, I'll just say the movie's directed by Howard Deutsch. Um, he is most notable to me. He's married to Leah Thompson, the actress.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
he directed a couple John Hughes movies, a couple movies that John Hughes wrote. He directed Pretty in Pink and Some Kind of Wonderful, which I imagine is where he met Leah Thompson. He has directed a few other movies. He's done a lot of TV. He directed a bunch of sequels, interestingly. He directed Grumpier Old Men, The
Mm.
Odd Couple 2.
Mm.
So
Just
tight with Walter Matthau, I guess.
riding on
Um,
the coattails of the originals.
yes, and the whole 10 yards. Not the whole 9
Oh,
yards, the whole 10 yards.
got it. Okay.
But he's directed lots of TV. He's directed episodes of Getting On, True Blood, some of like the American Horror Story series, stuff like that. So he's pretty
Kind of a
prolific.
diverse group of work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's married to Leah Thompson. He's also the father then of actress Zoe Deutsch, who's in various things. It was written by Vince McEwen, who hasn't written a ton of movies. He wrote a few movies. The one that I knew besides this was Fly Away Home, which is the movie with the geese.
Oh, that's a good movie. And
Where the girl like they have the plane, the girl and her dad have like the plane to like lead the geese or
yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's also written plays. He's a playwright and he's from Baltimore.
Oh, there you go.
So I wonder if that has to do with it being made here.
And maybe of them not trying to disguise it as Washington D.C.
Yeah. He was like the
Show
Washington
my hometown
skyline.
off. Yeah. So
Yeah. It's like the Washington skyline, but it's just the inner harbor.
right.
Speaking of the inner harbor, the movie opens with a shot of Keanu Reeves on a boat in what is obviously not DC. There's water there too. They have a harbor, but it doesn't look like this.
No.
He's his job is cleaning people's boats, so he's underwater scraping barnacles off boats. He finds a football underwater and does some pantomiming of playing football while he's underwater. Seems fun. And then we learn about what's actually happening. The players are going on strike because the owners won't raise the salary cap. Again,
those cheap bastards.
Exactly. The players are portrayed as just greedy and horrible, and the owners are justified, apparently.
And can we mention the salaries that are being talked about? Because especially compared to today's,
they want to go from like $7 million to $8 million. Can you imagine?
Ooh.
Can you imagine if players today were like, I just want to go from $7 million to $8 million? Now they're getting like,
imagine? It'd be like, no, I tell you what, we'll give you 10. We'll give you 10
exactly.
I tell you what, buddy, because we like you, we'll make it 12. We'll double your salary. So can you imagine? Yeah.
This is again where I wrote in my notes. This is capitalist propaganda. This is anti-union, and you could see like they're trying to like trivialize the concern because they start interviewing the pro players. Eddie Martell is the quarterback of the Washington Sentinels, which is obviously the team that we're following. He is talking about like, oh well, like I need like money to pay for stuff, and they start like joking around like, oh, castles and private jets must be
Right.
expensive. Like the guy walks by, another player walks by and talks about like his luxury car or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like, also they need health insurance.
Well,
One
he talks.
day their brain's not going to work.
Well, that's down the road. That's the
Apparently, you
also
don't need money for that.
the guy playing Martell. Doesn't he look like he's 50 years old? Like he's a
He
little
looks
old to
way
be
too old to be playing
playing
professional football.
pro. Especially in his prime,
Yeah.
they say. Yeah, he's like, to me, looked like over the hill, hanging on with both fingernails to the last shred of dignity that he has. But
Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk about the cast, I guess, as we go through. So Martell is played by the actor Brett Cullen, who I think he's also one of those guys that's like, you've seen him in a million things.
yeah,
He was on Falcon Crest.
ooh,
He was on Lost. He was on Person of Interest,
oh, that was a
Devious
good show. I like
Maid.
that show.
He's in the Gridiron Gang, The Dark Knight Rises, 42, The Joker. Well, yeah. So Brett Cullen, you have seen him in something. I would almost guarantee you. But he, again, actually, let me look. At the time this movie came out, he was 44. So he was,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting late Tom Brady.
Exactly. We're past retirement age. So
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if he was in a strong bargaining position, but they
oh
do
no.
portray him as like really good though. Like he's
Yeah.
won 2 Super Bowls and he's like all whatever, Pro Bowl quarterback, blah blah blah. They portray him as very good. He doesn't look like he's very good, but
No, no,
we'll
doesn't give
we'll
off that vibe.
we'll
So
suspend our disbelief, I guess. So yeah, the players are going on strike. The owner, who is played by Jack Warden, he plays Edward O'Neill, who's the owner. He has since passed, but he was in a lot of things.
oh gosh, yeah, great actor.
Shampoo, Heaven Can Wait, Brian's Song, 12 Angry Men. I know him as the grandpa in Problem Child and Problem Child 2. That's what I recognize him from.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I've seen 12 Angry Men, but I don't, as a room full of white guys, they all look the same to me. Sorry. But I remember him from Problem Child.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, the owner, Edward O'Neill, he calls again. I don't know why they need a new coach because usually when the players go on strike, the coaches don't leave, but he calls a new coach. I guess this is the thing I was confused about watching this now, and because we talked about this a little bit, Jim. They're hiring a new coach. They also hire new cheerleaders. So it's like, did everyone leave?
Well,
Because the
but they
Players
kept
Association is a specific union. So when it goes on strike, it doesn't mean that maybe other people wouldn't cross the picket line because they have morals and principles.
maybe, but then I wondered though about the cheerleader thing. Was the one person that was left getting hiring the cheerleaders, was she a cheerleader? She was staying, the person who had the bar. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I
So
was
I,
just,
I I wasn't sure if she was like one of the original cheerleaders, and then she was hiring the other ones, or I wasn't sure how that played out. So
yeah.
maybe I just missed that part. So, but
Yeah. I don't know.
I will say I
Listen.
think they focused a lot on the cheerleaders though
Yes.
too
Yes. We did
throughout the
hear more about the
movie.
cheerleaders than perhaps we needed
Well,
to or expected
we get to
to.
see the cheerleader tryouts as well. So at least
Yes.
some of them. So
Yeah. So we'll get there. It's a lot.
yeah.
So anyways, I will just say regarding strikes, I would like to quote Fran Fine from The Nanny. 3 rules: never wear musk oil to the zoo, never touch a public toilet, and most importantly, never cross picket line.
There you go. Wise words.
Also watch The Nanny. Um anyway, so he The owner brings back Jimmy McGinty, who was a former coach of the Sentinels that he fired in the past.
Mhm.
He wants to bring him in to coach because they're going to continue the season with the replacement players, as we talked about. Jimmy McGinty's like, okay, just give me kind of full reign and I'll do it. Jim McGinty is played by Gene Hackman. Again, I think one of the like most famous actors ever.
Agreed.
The French Connection, Unforgiven, Bonnie and Clyde, Mississippi Burning. For me, I appreciate him most in the Royal Tenenbaums when he plays Royal Tenenbaum. But he's in is he in Hoosiers?
Hoosiers, which is a really a favorite of mine as well. So, uh,
but yeah, Gene
has a
Hackman in
great
a
body
million
of
things.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look him up. So yeah, he has his coaching staff. His assistant coaches are played by. It would be cool if I could read my own handwriting, but I can't. Gaylord Sartain, who was on Hee Haw and some of the Ernest movies. I was definitely a connoisseur of the Ernest movies as a child.
Oh yeah.
With my dad, and then the other coach is Art LaFleur, who is a character actor, was a character actor, so he's been in a million things. For me, I will say I know him from the movie Man of the House from the mid '90s with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Chevy Chase. He's one of the
Oh,
other
okay.
dads in like their little Boy Scout troop,
Mm-hmm.
and in Santa Claus 2 and 3, he plays the Tooth Fairy.
Okay.
So
Again, another diverse group of work.
yes, he was also apparently an acting coach.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, if you can play the
so
Tooth Fairy, you can do anything.
well, I mean,
Yeah. Well,
Rain. So they're putting together a team that's basically like Jimmy McGinty's like fantasy team of just people who never kind of got their place in the NFL. So the first person is God, they're so funny. Danny Bateman, who is a he walked on at Michigan State. He served in the Gulf War, got a Purple Heart, and now he's a member of the SWAT team of the Washington D.C. Metro Police Department. And we see like little clips of him as we're introduced to them, and he just like goes crazy in a sort of like in the way that like the Water Boy goes crazy. Like he just is like
yeah.
kind of goes from nothing to like like a bull charging someone. That's his energy. Next we have Clifford Franklin, who is played by Orlando Jones. Oh, I'll also say Danny's played by Jon Favreau. Uh, Jon Favreau, who you might know from the movie Swingers, Daredevil, Four Christmases, Couples Retreat, Chef. He's also in the Iron Man and Spider-Man movies as Happy Hogan. He's also a director. He's directed
Mm-hmm.
Elf, for example. He created the Mandalorian TV show and directed, I think they have a spin-off movie. So he's directed like I think he directed The Jungle Book and maybe The
Oh, okay.
Lion King, the CGI ones that they did
The CG.
recently. So he does
Uh,
he's doing a lot. More behind the
so,
camera these days, but
so I will say though, if you remember him as Happy, you probably may not recognize him in this role.
he looks like someone who got out of the military and went to work on a SWAT team, I will say.
Yeah, he's
He's
lean.
slim and trim, yeah.
He is, yeah, and he looks pretty brutal out there.
He
So,
looks like he could hurt you. He's wearing you can tell he means business because he's wearing the neck roll too in his shoulder pads.
exactly, yeah.
Um, so the next player they recruit is a wide receiver, Clifford Franklin, played by Orlando Jones. Orlando Jones, you may recognize from things recently. He was on the show American Gods. I knew him as a kid. He was on 7-Up commercials. He was on Mad TV.
Oh, it's yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's been in a lot of movies. I always loved the movie Evolution with him and David Duchovny, where they're trying to figure out how to stop the alien invasion with Head and Shoulders. He is working as a convenience store clerk and he chases down a thief. The main problem with him as a receiver is that he cannot catch.
No hands.
No hands. So sounds like a great person to hire as a receiver. Next we meet the Jackson brothers. They are played by Faison Love, who I remember most, I think, recently from Couples Retreat. He's the black guy in Couples Retreat.
Oh, okay.
I always think of the scene where like they have to take their clothes off and they're all wearing underwear, but he wasn't wearing any underwear. And Michael Taliaferro, who was in the movie Life, and he was also on like the Jamie Foxx show, the Parker Martin, like so a lot of the like black sitcoms. They are bodyguards. So they had been professional football players, but they sort of fell apart when not playing together. So it's like, okay, as long as they're together, they're good. They had become bodyguards, but as soon as they get the call, they're like, oh, okay, we're done. Next recruit is Nigel, who is a Nigel Gruff, which is a great name. He is a Welsh footballer. He owns a pub. He also has a gambling addiction. That's going really rough for him. But he can kick a ball the length of the entire field. So they're like, great, he'll be our kicker. He is almost constantly smoking on the field. There's a part where he runs onto the field and hands his lit cigarette to one of the assistant coaches to hold for him. And the guy is like, oh God, it like burns when he drops it. He is played by Rhys Ifans, who I think is another person that's in like a million things. Notting Hill, I think most memorably.
That's what I remember him from. Yeah. The
he's
weirdo
Hugh
roommate
Grant.
for Hugh Grant's.
Yeah. Eccentric roommate. Recently, most recently, he played Otto Hightower on House of the Dragon, which is the Game of Thrones like prequel, and he was Luna Lovegood's dad in the last couple of Harry Potter movies. He was also in Spider-Man, the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. He was Dr. Connors, who turned into the Lizard.
The Lizard.
And then he was in the last one where they all came back.
Oh, right.
He was in that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he was good in that. He was good as the Lizard.
Little Nicky is one of the other brothers in Little Nicky.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, and then the last recruit, they need a quarterback. And Jimmy wants Shane Falco, who again, everybody knows, Ohio State star, fell apart in the Sugar Bowl, disgrace, blah, blah, blah. Now he's living on a crappy houseboat, cleaning other boats. So Jimmy goes to him to recruit him. And they talk about his issues, how he takes a lot of hits. I guess that's his style of play, is to just get his shit rocked. I resented this part because that's what Jimmy McGinty is like. That's why girls don't play the game. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, men can't get concussions. Men's ribs don't break.
No. Tough. We're
ridiculous.
Wolverine. We're all Wolverine.
Yeah.
Not.
Shane is not interested initially. Spoiler, he joins. Or else why would they pick Keanu Reeves to be in this movie?
Right.
That Shane Falco is Keanu Reeves, to be clear. And we already talked about what he's been in. But, at this point, he'd been in Speed, Matrix, and Bill and Ted. Since then, I think most recently, everybody knows him from John Wick. Anyways, so the replacement players, Scab, arrive as the regular players are like picketing outside the stadium. The stadium would, again, if you are a person who has ever laid eyes on this place, is so obviously M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. It's ridiculous.
It's the Ravens' nest.
It is the Ravens Stadium, period. The striking players continue to be portrayed as villains. They're egging the bus and throwing stuff at it.
Yeah, rocking the bus.
The best part is Orlando Jones. Clifford Franklin is so excited to see professional football players. He's taking pictures of them as they're attacking the bus with his little disposable camera. He's like, click. There's something so comical about a disposable camera with the little, because you have to crank it in between pictures. it does just make it a little bit funny because you can't just continuously take pictures. You have to
Yeah.
do the little winding
You
it
have to do
every
the
time.
wheelie thing. Yeah.
There is just something that is like that adds just like a little layer of comedy to that. They all have to like walk by. They have to sort of like walk through this mob of players. They're getting yelled at. Some of them are trying to like bucket them. Danny is like, you know, eyes on the prize.
Right. Just
Some of the other guys are less stoic about it. We need some more players. Ryan Murphy is the tight end, which is great. He played in college. His college was Gallaudet, which is a college for deaf and hard of hearing people. So the tight end is deaf, and the assistant coach is like, how am I supposed to talk to him? And Gene
yeah.
Hackman, Jimmy McGinty is like, learn to sign.
Yeah.
They are able to make it work, and he is like good. He's a big guy. He's good size for a tight end. He's played by David Denman, who to me I mostly know as Roy from The Office. He was a Pam's
Oh.
fiance before she got with Jim. But he's been in a bunch of other things. He was in Big Fish, Out Cold, Logan Lucky, The Equalizer 3. He was also in the series Mayor of Easttown. So he's another person that's been in like a ton of things. But
Okay.
I recognize him mostly as Roy. If you've ever watched The Office, it's Roy. You know who he is.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so he is not deaf in real life. But he played in the movie. We see, we're starting practice, right? They're praising people. We see Nigel. His nickname is the Leg, and he's so skinny. And the coach is like, "This guy is the Leg," and he goes, "I'm wiry," which is like my favorite.
uh-huh.
I thought that was so funny at the time, and I would say it all the time.
Well, that and
Anytime
Gene
someone was
Hackman
like,
repeats it. And he says he says he's wiry, and Gene Hackman says, "No, no, no, he's wiry.
"He's
he's
wiry."
wiry."
He's going. Reese Ifans is like going full Welsh accent in this
Oh
movie, by
yeah,
the way,
yeah.
which is not in my repertoire of accents necessarily, but
Actually, I thought you did it pretty well. So just
thank
yeah.
you. I think it verges Irish when I say it, but that's fine. Close enough. They they recruit another player, um, Earl Wilkinson, who is a felon. The governor of Maryland has granted him permission to get out of jail for a bit to play on the team.
Was it clemency? Is that what they called it, or what?
I guess
What
so.
was it?
Well, granted clemency means you're like out. They
Oh,
like let
that's
you
right.
go.
Yeah.
So
So
he's
yeah. So
on
it
like
wasn't.
he gets like a furlough, I guess, to
Yeah,
come out.
like work release.
Basically. What is also funny about this is that they can't like use his real name. They can't like let people know. So when he's playing, he goes by Ray Smith, and they have like no information. Like there's a part during a game where John Madden, who plays himself in this movie, is like, "Yeah, this is Ray Smith," and he like likes to embroider. I don't know what's his deal. Um, so although here's the less funny information, that character is played by the actor Michael Jace, who I think his other main credit was being on the field.
Oh, okay.
He later became an actual convicted murderer. He killed his
Really?
wife in 2014. Yes,
Oh my gosh.
he's in prison for murder now.
Hmm. Boy, talk about typecasting.
Right. I read that and I thought maybe he like had a difficult past and like reformed and became an actor. And it was like, no, he was an actor and then he murdered his wife 10 years ago. It was like
That's
a track
terrible.
star. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Is,
So at that guy. It's
is he
funny in the
still
movie.
is he still serving time? I'm hoping.
I think so. Yeah. Cause it was just 10 years ago that happened.
Yeah.
So I think he was
Well,
sentenced to like 20 to life or something. Oh, and they also get a gentleman named Jumbo Fumiko, who is a sumo wrestler, to play lineman, which does seem like a great idea.
I,
You need
I
big guys that can push people, and that's what
push
they
people,
do.
and that's exactly what they do. And they're the good ones are very good at it. I thought that was pretty spot on. So
Yeah. Yeah. He's played by the actor Ace Yonomine, who's his name is not a link on Wikipedia, so I don't know. I don't know if he did anything else.
oh, so this might have been the one and only.
Might have been it, but he's
Oh,
great at this. He's very funny.
he is.
Um, Practice is kind of a mess. Uh,
Yeah.
it's sort of like in all of these movies, right? Like the first practices in We Are Marshall, in Little Giants, even in Remember the Titans a little bit. The first practice is a mess.
This sort of reminds me a little bit too of The Longest Yard.
Yeah,
Sort of in that, that like we're trying to put a team together, a bunch of misfits. I put has-beens, misfits, weirdos, and whack jobs. So it's a
basically. This
yeah,
is the island of misfit toys here.
yeah, uh-huh.
There's a game that is funny. Like the sumo wrestler guy, Jumbo, like pushes the sled super far and flips it over, and Nigel walks by and he goes, "That'll do, pig." And then the guy Jumbo says, "Screw you," and then Nigel says, "You'll have to find your dick first, Shamu boy."
There are some good lines in this, and then and I
Yeah,
I
I
like
think Reese Funds has a lot of them.
he does, and he does do a great job of delivery. So
Yes, he's quick. Shane arrives. Shane Falco decides to come play. But
you ever
as
notice they never say what they pay him? They never come out and say like how much money they're making.
that's a good question. I mean, because it does suggest like the Nigel. It makes it sound like he's gonna get some money because he tells his bookies like,
Right.
"Oh, I got you. It's coming."
Yeah. I can
But we
pay off
don't
my
ever hear
gambling
how
debt.
much they get
Yeah.
paid.
I mean, so if you think, if the owners are so cheap about, the
Just pay your
players,
regular players more money, and you
how
won't have to
much
pay these
how much are
people.
they paying these guys? Or I mean, and maybe I don't know, maybe it was $10,000 or a game
Yeah.
or something, which was it's peanuts, but to these
Just
guys it's a lot of money.
yeah, Shane Falco cleaning barnacles off boats.
Right? Yeah, I don't know what that pays an hour, but it can't be much. So
Right. So, well, Shane arrives to the stadium and he parks. And who is waiting there but Martell, who's the real quarterback, and some of the other players? Um, they flip his car over. And one thing I had to point out, there is one player in this little mob. They're all wearing regular clothes, except for one man who is wearing a sheer black shirt, red pants, and a leopard print cowboy hat. Where is he going? What is they're all, everybody else is just like shirts and pants, like normal shirts and pants. I have said on this podcast I want men to dress with a little more personality. That's not what I mean.
Oh,
What
okay.
is he doing?
It means I got to take
Sir,
that leopard print cowboy hat back.
I mean, not all of it at once. At least we can do
Well,
leopard print hat and red pants and a pure black shirt. We got to pick one.
yeah,
Like Coco
that's
Chanel said, you
true.
got to take one thing off before you leave the house. But that part, I was just like watching that. I was just like, what the hell is this man wearing? I would be like, if someone tried to flip my truck looking like that, I'd be like, what are you wearing?
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
you're flipping my truck, but you look like an idiot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you dancing later on tonight at the club?
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
Justin Timberlake.
yeah.
Anyways, this I thought was actually a good insult. They say Shane Falco's not a has-been, he's a never was. I was like, ooh.
Ooh, shade.
But then, Keanu, Shane, he gets dressed and we get a nice like he's jogging out, hair flowing,
Looking good.
looking all dreamy. And then they start practicing like with everybody. He's in the red shirt because he's a quarterback. Danny does not know the rule that you don't hit the red shirt in practice, and he knocks the shit out of him.
And is happy about it. He's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's like, "Oh, sorry, that was a
yeah,
good hit, though, wasn't it?" So
yeah. That was a
he's
good
like
hit.
hyped up. He actually hits him again, and Shane's like, "The red shirt. Look at the red shirt." He's like, "Oh man, sorry, I just get so excited when I see that red. I'm like a bull." He's like amped up.
I thought of it as like the character in Star Trek shows that was always the red shirt guy that always got killed. So
Yeah, maybe that's how Danny understood it. Um, Again, Shane is getting reminded about his Sugar Bowl disaster. I think Nigel's like, I had a lot of money on that, and you lost me a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I lost my shirt on you or whatever. So,
Yes. This is also when the cheerleaders are recruiting. So there's a head cheerleader. Her name is Annabelle. She also like owns / works at a bar. She's played by Brooke Langton, who was on Melrose Place, The Net, and also the show. She had an arc on the show Friday Night Lights. So another football thing.
oh, okay. She looks familiar. She looked like I think she's one of those people that I think you see in a lot of different
Yeah,
things.
I think she'd been primarily in a lot of TV, it seems
Oh,
like.
okay.
But yeah, I'm sure a lot of shows. Um, she obviously she finds Jane Falco hot. Of course she does. He's Keanu Reeves. She is trying to recruit her cheerleaders, and it's not going super well. Uh, there is an excellent montage of weird, horrible cheers, dancing that is truly awful.
It is.
Until two ladies come who have some dance experience, not in Cats, but at Kitty Cats, the strip club by the airport. And she's like, "Great, you're hired."
And the one is like really like starts to say something and then forgets, and the other one
Forget.
says, "Oh, she does that all the time. Don't worry." You
Yeah,
know.
and it's like they're first of all dressed like they work at a strip club. One of them has like a very long, like I Dream of Jeannie ponytail
Yeah,
in.
that was kind of an odd
Yeah.
hairstyle.
She probably whipped it around, you know.
Yeah, and she keeps it throughout the entire movie. Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
she does. There's also one other new player that comes. It's Walter Cochran. Is the player. He's like a pastor. um, he's incredibly religious. Oh, he's a minister, but he'd been in the pros for like one game and blew out his knee, so that he's like, this is my kind of second chance. I
mm-hmm.
just want to like do something. But he's very funny because like whenever people start fighting, he's just like reciting scriptures at them.
That
Um,
he holds up his cross like he's warding off vampires. Like, he's
yes, I
like,
think he does that too when they're like walking by the other
mm,
players.
right when he goes
Um,
through the
through
stripe
the
thing,
crowd of the
or he
striking
holds up
players.
his Bible, I think, or something like,
Yes,
oh,
the power of Christ compels you.
yeah,
Um, once again, I put another note. It's so obviously Baltimore. The seats are purple. Like just the seats are. Like I feel like there could have been some color correction. Anyways, when
they
it's
didn't
time
have
to
the
leave,
budget. Come on now, give them a break.
I guess it was 2000 also, so I don't know. But when it's time to leave, Shane goes out. His car is still flipped over, but they've also now spray painted scab on the roof, which again, sorry, accurate description. You
Right,
are a scab.
if the shoe fits.
Exactly. So Annabelle, the cheerleader woman, she's like, "Oh, I'll give you a ride home." She's the worst driver ever.
Oh
She's
God.
crazy, crazy taxi. You ever play
Mm-hmm.
the game Crazy Taxi, where you drive up on the curbs and stuff? That's what she's driving. What is again obviously Baltimore.
And obviously Shane is fearing for his life.
Yes, he's holding the handle, the oh shit handle, very
Mm-hmm.
very tight.
Yeah, surprisingly, she drives a Jeep.
Yeah.
Although I didn't see any rubber ducks in the windshield
Mm-hmm.
in the dash. So
She's also like very casually talking football as if she's not like on the brink of death.
yeah, it's sort of like you get the idea. This is how she maneuvers or commutes every day. So
Yeah. It's funny because like this is never visited again, so it's just like a random tale about her, I guess. It's like terrible at driving.
I know it. Yeah, it doesn't become a running joke.
Yeah, it's just like ha ha ha.
It's like a
It's like
throwaway.
look at this woman who's a bad driver.
Yeah, Well, but she didn't kill anybody and didn't get killed, so I guess that's one
Yeah.
thing.
And things continue. He goes home. Finally it's the night before their first game. Shane and Jimmy are talking. Jimmy sees potential in Shane. Shane obviously still has some hang up given his last
Mm-hmm.
big game performance. As we mentioned, John Madden plays himself, so he's doing all the commentary with Pat Summerall in these games. So that's cool, fun. Uh,
Yeah, it was nice to see both of them.
yeah,
Yeah, brought back good memories of when I think some of the announcers today lack a little personality. Maybe.
yeah,
Although people would say Pat Summerall was very dry, he was, but Pat knew the game and he understood what was going on. John Madden, I mean, come on.
like I remember John Madden, like watching John Madden a lot.
Oh yeah, and John Madden's
Um,
just John Madden, so it's just
right, exactly. The teams that they're playing, they just basically bought an entire semi-pro team. So they they're playing people that are probably better than them, who play football consistently. So everybody's getting ready. Jumbo, the sumo wrestler, is housing eggs, just shoving eggs in his mouth. The coach is like, "What that? Like what?" He's just like, "Oh yeah, this is great." He's just shoving them. He's doing like you play like Tubby Bunny when you shove a bunch of marshmallows in your mouth. He's doing
Yeah,
that, but with eggs.
but it's like
It's
Paul Newman
gross.
in Cool Hand Luke, the egg eating contest, like and it's yeah, he's
Yeah,
just yeah,
this
one
guy
after
would
the other.
win.
Yeah.
So then it's time to play. They have to go out to the field, and for some reason there's like a wire in front of the tunnel. And
I,
like some of these things I'm like, why isn't this explained ever? Like
yeah.
in any case, the first person to run out is Danny, who is already a little overzealous all the time. He trips over this wire and takes out half the cheerleaders. The best part is I love when they're getting up and just like shoving the cheerleaders out of the way so that he can
Right.
like
Yeah.
get
Just sort of.
by. They're all just sort of like tiptoeing through this pile of cheerleaders. Um, when the game starts, like the team is fighting. They accidentally knock out Shane.
Yeah.
They're trying to fight and they hit him instead.
I know they knock out their own quarterback.
Yeah. They keep getting delay of game penalties just over and over and over again. Eventually Shane is like, you all have to shut up. And someone's like, what if I have something to say? And he's like, you have to raise your hand. Um, they finally run a play and Shane is hit and fumbles. So it's just not going well. Then Danny gets in a fight. Like it's just like fight.
It's just all over the place.
And then one of my favorite parts that I always remember from this movie is finally the eggs make a reappearance. Uh,
Yes. They
Jumbo throws up in the huddle, and then Clifford Franklin is like, I can't be around people who are throwing up. It's gonna make me throw up. So then he throws up, and they look, we have to get away from the throw up, or we're all gonna throw up. So they like are like, okay, move left on three, and they like link arms as a huddle and sort of shuffle to the side.
that was pretty funny.
It was hilarious because like their little legs. The assistant coach was like, "What is happening?" And Gene Hackman's like, "It's the first thing they've done together all day."
Yeah, yeah. Wait a minute, let him have this. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's they haven't been together since they haven't done anything as a team
Yes.
up until this point.
So they finally complete a pass. They score when Nigel hits a field goal very easily. Danny, again, being overzealous, kind of beats crap out of him in celebration. You know how people like knock helmets and like hit each other a little bit.
Pound on
Danny
the
is much
shoulder
bigger
pads.
and stronger than Nigel is, and so Nigel's like, ow. Once again, the guy who's a con is using an alias. This is when they're like, who is Ray Smith? Oh, we don't really know anything about him. The offense fumbles with like a minute left, and Jimmy, the coach, tells Danny, I want you to get the ball. And it is a funny moment because he's like, I want you to get the ball. And he's like, you want me to get the ball? I want you to get me the ball. I want you to get me the ball. Just like physically takes it out of the
Yeah,
opposing player's
just
hand.
rips it out of his arms. Yeah,
He just
it's like
straight up takes it.
really.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then the final play of the game, they have a chance to win. Jimmy calls a pass play. Shane obviously still living in his Sugar Bowl PTSD, does not
Oh, I
trust
like
himself.
that. That's good. Sugar Bowl PTSD.
He obviously doesn't trust himself to make the pass, so he switches to a run, and they come up just short of a touchdown, which they needed to win. So they lose. Jimmy's like, what's the deal? Shane's like, oh, I read Blitz, so I, thought that was the right idea. Which obviously Jimmy knows is a lie because he's not stupid.
Right.
And he says, winners always want the ball when the game is on the line, which we'll hear again later. Here is the, I believe, only time that we get a shot of DC. We see the Washington Monument. You just see the National Mall. You just see the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. It's not even like the part of DC where people live. It's just like, hello, have you heard of DC? Washington Monument?
Well, it's got to reinforce that, hey, we're in Washington, D.C., and what better way to say it than the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and the National Mall. So just say,
the place where everyone in DC hangs out. But I guess this is not for people from here. This is for people from like Wisconsin.
Exactly. Yeah. Ohio. Where everybody watched Shane blow the Sugar Bowl.
Exactly.
In Columbus.
Everyone goes to the bar. All the players go to the bar. Please turn on I Will Survive, which some of the players complain about. And I'm like, how are you complaining about hearing I Will Survive?
I know. It's like, yeah.
This isn't like one of the greatest songs ever. Why would you complain about this? I love this song. I sang this at my 6th grade talent show.
Oh, well, there you go.
Me and 2 of my friends. Shout out to Rima and Kirby. We were a trio. We had excellent choreography also.
Okay.
We didn't do the electric slide, but
I was just going to say, did you do the electric slide? So
we didn't. We had like choreography that went with the lyrics, but their choreography is good too.
Or if you're going to bust out the electric slide, that's the song to do it too. So
it goes really well. Also, and we'll talk about this, varying levels of skill at the electric slide.
Oh yeah. You could tell some were better at it.
Keanu, no. Anyways, so at this bar, the actual players come in, and then they start making fun of Brian, the deaf guy, which is just like a dick move. Shane defends him. Martell hits Shane in the face, and then it turns into a whole bar fight. Martell is wearing a red shirt, and Shane's like, "Hey, remember what I told you about not hitting the guy in the red shirt? Forget that." And so Danny just beats the shit out of Martell. Nigel's kicking people. Oh, this is when the pastor guy's like, "We are all God's children." Walter Cochran. I neglected to say Walter Cochran is played by the actor Troy Winbush. So I think he's been in a bunch of TV and movies. He was Denny on the Cosby Show as a recurring role. I don't remember who that is exactly, but he was in like the movie Don Q. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
In any case, we are all God's children. He's like fighting and also quoting scripture. Clifford is hiding behind the jukebox.
I was getting ready to say, so we can't forget, Orlando, Mr. Courage.
And then they're all arrested. All the replacement players are arrested. They're in a cell together, and they're all bickering as they're wont to do. And then Clifford starts talking, and he starts reciting the lyrics to I Will Survive. It's like he's preaching. He's like, at first I was afraid. I was petrified. And eventually they all start singing. And then they all start doing the electric slide together. As I said, Keanu, not good. The deaf guy, the person who's pretending to be deaf, was better than him.
Who supposedly can't hear the music or the lyrics.
Right. He just, I guess, must be very good at following other people.
Right.
Then is this part I also always think about, and it makes me laugh, because then Jimmy McGinty, the coach, comes to bail them out, and they all are like, oh, shoot, and stop. Except the deaf guy going. Until they eventually are like, hey, get his attention. Jimmy says, if anything like that bar fight happens again, you're all fired. But I would have loved to see Martell get his ass kicked.
Good.
So he's not that mad.
No, no, but he has to play the management thing. So
Yeah. Annabelle, the cheerleader, visits Shane. She gives him some balm for his bruises. Just starts rubbing it on there. Ooh. Or she talks about how he cares about his teammates, which is different from the other players. Again, the main players are portrayed as villains. Which, whatever. Perhaps in this universe, all the players are very selfish people. I think in real life, NFL players do care about their team. She also talks about this bar that she works at, owns, because the cheerleaders barely get paid, which again raises my question: where did the rest of them go?
Don't know.
Perhaps they're in solidarity. I don't know. They're Fran fine. They don't cross ticket lines.
But the thing about the relationship between her and Shane too is like at the very beginning, he sort of like asked her out, and she goes, "Oh no, I don't date, but I don't date members of the team, especially quarterbacks." And then, but it's her though that is. So it's not like he's doing
right. Also, he's not a real
fancy.
member of the team.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not like I mean, he's a scab.
Yeah. Back to practice, the players flip Shane's car once again. You would think that maybe he would I don't know, try to park somewhere else, arrive with your teammates.
Right. Or just park around back or something.
Right.
It's like,
there's other places to park, but I don't know. In any case, the Jackson brothers, so they're the two bodyguard guys who are now his offensive linemen, they come out and they're like, hey, put it back. The other players are like, what are you going to do? Mind you, one dude still wearing animal print and a cowboy hat. Now he's wearing animal, I think his shirt or his pants are animal print and his cowboy hat is plain. But this man cannot leave his house without animal print and a cowboy hat.
Maybe that's his look. I'm just saying.
He looks like Justin Timberlake in this era in the dirty pop era of NSYNC. It's not a good look in any case. But the 2000s were difficult for us all.
Speak for yourself.
That's true. Maybe your fashion has not changed that much. I was 10, so I've evolved.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was gonna say so.
The Jackson brothers tell the players to put Shane's car right, and they're like, "No, what are you gonna do?" One of them pulls out a gun and shoots out Martell's windows.
I love that.
And they're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it's like, but and then you son of a bitch.
Then he shoots more windows.
I'm a son of a bitch.
That's like. Then he shoots out the driver's side window.
Yeah. He just riddles it with, as I said, the shooting of the car thing was great. That was funny.
It was very
laugh
funny.
out loud funny.
Because he's the best part is he's looking at them and just pulls a gun out and is not even looking at the car and just goes boom, boom, boom. So it's a very funny image. And they're like, we are guards. We protect the quarterback. Shane is our quarterback.
Yeah.
Put his car back. And so they eventually do. And then what's funny is that at the beginning of the team meeting, they're like, so no one is allowed to have firearms on the premises.
If you have one, turn it in and no questions will be asked.
Yes. And then they get into the content of the team meeting and Gene Hackman's like, I want to talk about fear. Clifford Franklin volunteers that he's afraid of spiders. And Gene Hackman's like, no, on the field. And he's like, oh, you mean spiders on the field? And then one of the Jackson brothers is like, I'm afraid of bees. And everybody's like, wow, bees? And they're like, no, not what we're talking about. And finally, Shane is like, quicksand. And Clifford's like, oh yeah, quicksand is really scary. You're just in there and it sucks you down. Like, no, that's not what he means. Quicksand, as he describes it, and this is something that I think about a lot, through the rest of my life in playing sports. And sometimes when I watch sports too, because I think this is a thing that you can see happening sometimes for people. It's basically this idea that something goes wrong, and then things keep going wrong, and then you're in over your head. You can't get out. You can't breathe, right? And I think if you're a person who watches sports, I think this is a sensation that you can see happening in various sports. Like something starts going wrong and it just the floodgates kind of open
Yeah,
and
it
you
just
just
keeps
can't.
compounding, and then like you said, you dig yourself deeper. Although, can I? Have you ever seen like movies where they show somebody who's trapped in quicksand? Shouldn't it be called slow sand?
That's
Because
true.
they really don't go down quickly. It's not like you
You
sink in
they
water.
don't. I watched a video recently of someone showing how to get out of quicksand. I don't know how that came across.
Well,
Did
if
you know the only place I've seen quicksand in real life in
really,
France? Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
France has
So
quicksand.
yes. So there is a place in the north of France, a little monastery called Mont Saint Michel. Well, it's like a little mountain, like it's like in the water, but the tides are really high in
Huh?
northern France. So like there's a little road out to where this abbey is at Mont Saint Michel. But at times when the tide is high, the road is flooded, so it looks like an island.
Mm-hmm.
But when the tide goes out and all the sand around there, like there are patches that become quicksand. So like our we were warned before we went there, like if you're gonna walk around on the sand, like the darker areas are quicksand,
No
and like
kidding.
this is how you get out of quicksand. Yeah. So I thought quicksand was like like in the jungle, like in
That's what
Indiana
I thought. It
Jones
was always
movies
like
and
in all
stuff.
those jungle movies, and it's like, that
Yeah. I never thought that it would be France that I would encounter quicksand.
I was
I
gonna
didn't walk.
say,
I didn't take any chances. I was like, I'm just gonna stay like on the road.
sure, smart
But
move on your part.
I don't want to take a chance with quicksand. But it was wild. Like you wouldn't expect quicksand in France.
Nope,
So
I'd have
if
bet
anybody's
money
going
on
to,
that.
yeah, everybody is motivated for the next game. Cut to, they're playing San Diego and they are whooping Shane's ass. Uh, then he says, "Let him through." Reminded me of Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
thought he was going to do that. I forgot actually what happened. What actually happens when they let the defender through is that Shane like throws the ball full speed at this man's head and kind of boinks him in the head. He's sort of disoriented. Then it pops up and Jumbo, the sumo guy, gets it and scores a touchdown. It did make me wonder. I was like, would they call that like an ineligible receiver downfield? But I wonder. I maybe they're more lenient when it's like an incidental like fumble kind of thing.
Maybe. So it's also funny that he's like dragging like six guys with him.
Oh yeah, they try to like all pull him down right before he gets in the end zone, and it's like truly like six adult men
Yeah, and
clinging to
he,
him. Um, we also, again, as Jim said, we get a lot of shots of the cheerleaders, and they are quite vulgar. You can tell what their night
oh,
job
yeah,
is.
yeah, all except for Annabelle.
Annabelle, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but the men in the crowd loving
Hmm.
it.
And
The men on the field
and
distracted. They're actually so like I don't know, enticing. The San Diego team is distracted and they get a delayed game, I think.
as are the referees,
Yes,
all except for the Sentinels.
yeah.
I guess they're
They're
immune.
used to it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, they probably, yeah, they see it. They see him practice every day.
Yeah.
So
I wrote that the cheerleaders titillate the fans. I think is a good word for this
very good. Yeah.
circumstance. So um the Sentinels score, they have to get the ball back. So they recover an onside kick. Danny recovers it, but he's just like running around, wasting time to the point that then Shane Falco has to tackle him.
Yeah, to
And of
stop the
course,
clock.
yeah, they have to stop the clock. Of course, Danny's just like, hey, that's great, good hit.
Good hit. Good hit.
And they only have time for one play. So Nigel, it's a 65-yard field goal. Nigel's like, bet, got it.
Hmm.
And he makes it. They win. Danny is coming after him to celebrate by injuring him. So Nigel is fully like running away and Danny's chasing him. Um, After the game, Sting goes to Annabelle's bar and they have a moment. I did love this moment, the way that they shot it, because it's like it's spliced with the audio from the next game. So it's like John Madden is like Shane
Oh,
Falco's gonna go for it,
oh.
and it's like as he's like going for a kiss, but in like it cuts immediately to like the game where he's going for a touchdown. So it was just like a
Right.
funny the way they did it. Also to the police's I'll be watching you, which I was like, this is a weird choice of song, but
That's
okay.
kind of a creepy song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a little bit.
But yeah, and I also in that scene we get a little bit more background about Annabelle, her dad. I think it was her dad's bar maybe, and
Right.
he was
Yeah.
like a huge football fan. So she was raised as a huge football fan. She's like Carol Yost from Remember the Titans, just
Yeah.
grown up, and she became a cheerleader. Um,
And the owner of a bar.
yeah, this is when John Madden is trying to diagram. So basically, in this play, there was like a fumble, and then like someone else fumbled it, and then someone else fumbled it, and then it bounced off somebody else, and then Shane Falco finally gets it and runs it in. And you see John Madden, and you know if you're familiar with John Madden, you know he was always drawing the play out
And
while as he's
gesturing with his
commentating.
hands and like.
And him trying to draw this is just like a jumbled mess. It's just like gibberish.
And poor Pat's like trying to follow along. You kind of see that, but then he's like, he's lost it. Pat's like, whatever,
Clifford misses a catch. Clifford Franklin misses a catch, which we know he was going to do because he can't catch. So why did they recruit him of all people as a receiver? Not sure. He's fast, which uh
Yeah, he's not
is
going to,
great, but the position, the name of the position tells you what you have to do, and it is receive the ball.
you have
And if
to
you can't catch, unclear how speed is helping you much.
yeah. Otherwise, you're
Make him
just
a
a
running back.
sprinter. Yeah. Well, I was
Yeah,
going to,
he's just
well,
running down the field at this
right.
point.
Yeah.
So Gene Hackman's like, okay, we're gonna put some sticky stuff on your hands. Which he's like, we're not allowed to do this. And he's like, what are they gonna do? Fire you?
Yeah.
So it's just like clear sticky stuff. It reminded me of Hot Hands Hanen from Little Giants, except he had like black tar on his hands. But he
Although it looks like goop. It's like
well, he says, I look
it,
like I just jacked off an elephant, is what he says. He tries to like drink some Gatorade out of a cup. Then when he gets to the huddle, it's like stuck on his hand. And Shane Falco is trying to call the play, and he's like, "What are you doing, Clifford?" He's like, Shane has to take the cup off for him, but he
yeah,
makes
like
the catch for a touchdown.
Who hasn't seen that joke in 1,000 movies?
Right?
Where someone gets glue or something on their hands and everything
Things are
sticks to
just
them.
sticking.
Yeah,
but the ball also sticks. He scores his touchdown, but then when he gets up, he like can't. The ball sticks to him.
Can't get rid of the football. I know, that's funny.
They can either go for the 1 and tie or go for the 2 and win. They go for the 2. Shane throws the ball basically to a player on the other team, but he happens to miss it, and then one of the Sentinels happens to catch it. I think it's Brian. So they make it and they win. Shane's not super happy having done that, but like Jimmy's like, a win's a win.
Win's a win, exactly.
Better to be lucky than good. This part is funny too. In the locker room, a reporter comes to talk to Shane Falco, and he's like, "Oh well, Clifford's the hero of the game. You should talk to him. I need you to understand, everyone, that Orlando Jones is wearing a towel around his waist and a like net black shirt.
Yeah,
like it looks like a fishing net. Like the holes are big.
Yeah.
Why is he wearing this? I don't know.
It was a thing back then.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I won't say.
I believe you.
No,
I just think it's silly.
I didn't wear it. No, I was. Hell, I was 43 years old back then, so I wouldn't wear it. But somebody 23, supposedly a younger person would.
It just looks silly.
Yeah.
In any case, but I just need to paint a picture that this man's wearing a net shirt with a towel, talking to this woman, and is just fully like flirting with her, referring to himself in third person. Clifford Franklin had a good day today. Clifford Franklin's going to have a good day tomorrow. As he is inching the towel higher up his thigh in front of this woman, he keeps doing this until Danny walks by and just shoves him in his locker, in his own locker.
Which is pretty funny.
It was very funny.
You can tell he's creeping out the reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny just like silently walks by and just abruptly shoves him. And then you look over at Nigel, who's in his tidy whities holding his junk, just going like, ole, 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 ole. And the woman is just like, oh my God. I think he also says cheers to the lady.
Yeah.
Like, cheers, bitch. The owner, O'Neill, tells Coach Jimmy McGinty that Martell and one of the other players are crossing the picket line. Once again, listen to Fran Fine, don't cross the picket line. Like, why would you do that, though?
Yeah,
If
because
you're striking to make more money, why would you cross? Why would
they
you come
don't
back?
really give a reason. I guess you're supposed to assume
I
that.
think. I mean, I think that happened in the real strike. That like some people crossed
Oh,
and it,
okay,
and
maybe
that's
it
why
did.
because that strike wasn't successful.
Yeah, because I think
Because
a lot of the players caved, right?
yeah. So I guess it's because of that, but it's still just like in the movie narratively, it's just like okay, they're coming back for no
Yeah,
reason.
I kind of assume maybe I don't know that maybe he thought, well, it looks like the team's going to make it to the playoffs, but I'm going to be the one leading them to the playoffs because I don't
Yeah.
want these scabs to get all the glory or whatever. So
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Jimmy wants to stay with Shane. He's like, nope, Shane has gotten us here. Let's stay with Shane. However, the next game, which they have to win to make the playoffs, is against Dallas. Which it is a big rivalry, I guess, in the movie, like it is in real life. Washington versus Dallas.
Right?
Dallas, the entire Dallas team has crossed the picket line again. This strike is falling apart left and right.
Exactly.
But it's going to be the whole actual Dallas team. So like the owners, like obviously Martell should play
Yeah.
because we need to beat them. So it's sort of sad because Shane is like preparing and getting all excited, and then Jimmy's like, "Oh, well, actually, you're not playing."
Yeah.
Um, Shane is bummed, but he's grateful and is classy about it. He's emptying out his locker as Martell is planning to move in, and Martell is just a dick, as he has been the whole movie. He's just passive aggressive. He's like, "Oh man, Shane, like, wow, great job. It's supposed to be really hard for you to go back to being a loser, nothing person." Like,
Right. Yeah.
and he says that Annabelle deserves better than him, which I guess gives this idea that maybe Annabelle had something with him in the past, and that's why she doesn't date quarterbacks anymore because he was like a dick about it.
That's what yeah, I kind of got that vibe too, but I wasn't sure. So I wasn't alone in that. You sort of
Yeah.
got that
I
that
honestly had
feeling.
never thought about it until just now I said that, but it does make sense because he says to Shane that like the team deserves better than you and Annabelle deserves better than you.
Yeah, and that
So,
sort of came out of nowhere either. Like to me,
right,
it was like, oh, well, wait a minute. What do you know, or what do you have to do with Annabelle?
right.
Which again, to me, he looks like he could be old enough to be her father,
Yes. I will just
Martell.
say right here, going out on a limb, this is not the most well written movie. There are a lot
No,
of funny moments, but I think like the overall story, there are a lot of times when I'm like, wait, what? I
yeah,
think it is a
it's
collection of funny moments.
right. There's no cohesive thread to me.
Yes. Like I think there are
Okay,
funny people having funny moments in this movie. I
okay,
think
so
overall as a movie, like together, not so much.
because I was going to tell you, like, I, I, the movie was funny and stuff, but it wasn't, it didn't stand out. And like, remember the Titans as a
Yeah.
good story, or even as Little Giants, which had there was a storyline, and
Movies that you liked as a kid. It's just like, oh, this is not that good of a movie.
yeah, so yeah,
Um,
and it,
which is like what I don't care. I didn't write it, but it's like,
well, yeah, but
oh,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
interesting part of us doing this and revisiting movies that we maybe haven't watched in a while. It's like, oh, huh.
maybe that wasn't as good as I thought it was,
Well,
or but
I
it
didn't
was
have my
funny.
fully developed. Yeah, it's like if it comes on TV, which it still does sometimes. Like I'll turn it on because it makes me laugh. I also
Yeah,
don't have to pay attention because the storyline doesn't isn't that great.
yeah. It's not like if you blink or you walk away into the kitchen for a minute, you're going to miss a major plot point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my
Anyways,
God, he did what? it really wasn't the coach.
Right.
So
So back to the movie. The whole team of the replacements is having a party at a bar with the cheerleaders. The one ditzy one hits on the disc very blatantly. He's trying to sign that she's beautiful, and she signs like "I love giving blowjobs," basically, and he's like, "What?" And he's like, what?" And she's like,
Yeah,
"You, yes."
yeah, yeah.
It was like, all right, straight to the point.
Life's too short.
Let's just get right to it.
Right.
Shane comes in, everybody's excited. Number 16 in your program, number 1 in your heart, Shane Falco. That's Nigel announcing him, but he's like, oh, so Martell crossed the picket line, so I'm not playing anymore. And they're all sad. And then what's interesting too is that Shane then goes to Annabelle's bar, but doesn't go in. He just like stays outside and like
Yeah.
watches her. So I guess he took what Martell said to heart. Like he's not good enough for the team or for Annabelle. The next game, the Dallas game, Martell is playing, and the fans are openly booing him. Also, I noticed in the scene when we see cheerleaders, now there are male cheerleaders.
I know. I was good at.
Where did they come from? Were they on strike too? They came back with Martell?
Were they Martell's personal cheerleaders? I don't know. So,
what is happening in this movie?
well, the other thing, one of the other things I was going to say, and it sort of shows it's like, didn't Martell think that like the entire rest of the team that are scabs were probably not going to do a whole really good job of watching his ass?
Because he was a total dick to them.
Right. I mean, it's not like he was like, hey fellas, you all done a great job or anything like that. It was just, it was like, hey, now I'm back, and I'll be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And
So good that he's just gonna like
yeah,
elevate these people, but it's not going well. The team is
no,
falling apart. There is like no cohesion. They're like not blocking for him. The fans are booing. Martell then starts being mean because he can't communicate with Brian, who's the deaf guy. He's like in his face, like calling him stupid, like insulting him, which I did not like at all.
no.
And Brian does try to like fight him, but they pull him apart. Uh, Also, meanwhile, for Nigel, the bookies that are after him are at the
Oh,
game. But this was ridiculous. Them standing up doing the little like punching the hand gesture. I was like, okay, we get it.
right, yeah.
You're gonna break his kneecap. Like, laying it on a little thick here, guys. Like
Also, why did it
Martell,
take them so long to catch up with him? They knew where he was
he's
the whole
on
time.
television. The games
Exactly.
are televised.
He's either at the stadium practicing, or he's at the game. It's not like, or he's at his
Right.
bar. It's not like he's hiding. So yeah, I didn't get that either.
And yeah, Martell is a mess. He's like trying to call different plays, so he's overthrowing like the routes are wrong. He's overthrowing people. He tells Jimmy's like, I call the plays, and Martell's like, you can kiss my ass. I call the plays. I do whatever I
Hmm.
want.
Right.
I will also pause here and say Jimmy McGinty, as played by Gene Hackman, he dresses like a classic coat, like a Vince Lombardi
Oh
coat.
yeah.
Got the hat and
Tom.
the Landry.
Yeah, Tom Landry. Sorry, couldn't
Yes,
think of it. Yep, Tom
yes,
Landry.
that is how he's dressed. He's got his fedora, although I think
Hmm.
his is like a straw one, but
Yeah. But
but he
yeah,
has
yeah.
the outfit's very
Sport
similar.
coat, the
Yes.
sweater and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So as they're going back to the locker room, one of the sideline reporters asks Jimmy, "What does the team need to get back in the game?" And he says, "Heart." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Heart, miles and miles of heart." And he's like, "Okay, well, there you have it."
Yeah.
Um, Martell is fighting with the coaches. He's fighting with the rest of the team. He's being a real dick in the locker room. And who should show up to save the day but Shane Falco, which is, I will say, a really a good name for
It
a football
is.
player.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a good
Uh-huh.
football player name.
Well, I think it's just a good name. It'd be like a good name for worldwide explorer, or or
True. It's a good name for like
soldier
a
of fortune.
protagonist, a hero.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'll follow Shane Falco into battle.
exactly. Or or if we need to find this lost artifact. Who should we get? Shane Falco.
Yeah.
So
That's true. That's true.
yeah, I could go with I would do that.
That's true. So he says he can lead a team. Martel's like, no. And then basically the rest of the team is like, oh no, we want him, not you. And they physically drive him out of the locker
Yeah.
room.
Which, why didn't they do that in the first place if they didn't
honestly,
it's like, wait a minute, you guys just realized you could do this, after
yeah,
because they're behind.
right. Well, I guess Shane wasn't there, so they didn't have another. Shane had stepped away,
True.
so they
I was
didn't
gonna
have
say,
another
yeah, they didn't
option.
know if Shane was going to show up or not, so
Yeah,
it's not like,
but
yeah,
when he did, they're like, thank God.
I know.
Also, as they're going back out to the field, Shane just like stopped over by the cheerleaders to kiss Annabelle. And I love Pat Summerall was like, or John Madden's like, he's necking with one of the cheerleaders, and Pat Summerall was like, fraternizing between the players and the cheerleaders is not allowed. Also, she's like trying to give him football tips too. She's like, here's the defense the other team is running. This is what you need to look out.
And he just
He's
leans
like,
in and just, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's not why I'm here. Yeah, that's not why I stopped by to see you.
Gene Hackman abruptly tells them the strike is over tomorrow. So there is no tomorrow for you. So just sort of lay it all out there.
That's right, baby.
Which is great. Feels abrupt, but okay.
Yeah.
Feels like that's something they would have like announced maybe in the locker room. It might have been on the news. I don't know.
Right. Or yeah, that even the day, all right, fellas, last game, so.
Right. Like they would know that from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this movie, we're just suspending like logic, I think, here.
Yeah,
logic and like coherent storytelling.
Common sense.
Yes. First play that the Sentinels run in the second half, they just start fighting Dallas. Like Shane jumps up and does like a 2-footed like kick to the chest, like he's in the WWE. And it's just so many flags that the ref can't even add up all the yards.
Right, of penalties.
But I guess they just needed to get that out of their system. Once again, Walter blows out his knee on a play.
Yeah.
And Shane's like, man, I'm sorry. He's like, I did this in front of 80,000 people. Like, what else could I ask for? Finish what you started. Like, finish what we started here. Then they're coming back. They're making a comeback. They're knocking away at Dallas's lead. And they're going to take a field goal. But Nigel knows that he needs to miss because that's what the bookies told him. They're like, you need to start missing some field goals.
He's got to throw the game.
He's got to throw the game. Shane can tell that something is wrong. He's like, Nigel, what are you doing? Because Shane is the holder. Because this is still the old days when the quarterback was the holder. Although I imagine maybe they didn't get a scab punter, so Shane has to do it. And nowadays the punters are the holders, but
right.
He's like, what is wrong? Laces out. Shane.
I wrote that on my thing. Laces
out. I thought that too. He
did.
You saw him spin the ball.
I was going
I love that he spun the ball even though he did not allow him to kick it. So
kick it, yeah.
He realizes that Nigel's like, I'm sorry, Shane, I have to do it. And Shane quickly puts together like, oh, he's about to miss this. So he like takes a snap, turns the laces out. Then as soon as Nigel goes to kick it, he pulls it up and starts running. Here again, we have to suspend a little disbelief because the man has him fully wrapped up, and Keanu Reeves is able to just like throw that man aside.
Yeah.
And then he like moves through and he gets tackled right at the end zone, but gets in.
Yeah.
That one, I was like, no. I'm supposed to believe that this big old professional football player defender had this man wrapped up and he just pushed him away. Like, get off me. No.
It's because he had heart.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Okay.
Heart and like anabolic steroids.
Right. Miles of heart.
Miles and miles of
plus
roids.
He was, Annabelle was,
Oh yeah.
had to do it, to show he was worthy of Annabelle.
He didn't need steroids. He was full of heart and love.
There you go. So
Oh, but then there's a holding penalty on the sumo guy. So after all of that,
that was kind of I didn't expect that. I was sitting there
I
thinking, oh,
know
they scored
that
the
was good.
touchdown.
It was good because you get all excited,
Yeah,
and then
and then
it's
you're
like,
thinking, oh man, they
no.
won the ball game, and then
I was
it's like,
like, God, this is
no,
like watching football for real.
I
Ravens,
know, yeah,
illegal formation every other play.
too
Um,
many too many men on the field.
right. That I feel
What?
like that is what happens when you're watching it. You're like, that was a great play, and then it's like,
Yeah,
and we're
then you
bringing
see,
it back,
and then you see the flag, down
and
in the
you're like,
backfield.
ah, bring it
So
back. Nigel's arm is broken because he like fully whiffed when he went to
yeah,
kick and fell
yeah.
down. But he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna get killed now. So
Right. He said
love
you
that.
saved my ass or whatever it
Yeah,
was. Yeah, you saved my life.
yeah. So we have time for one more play, and Shane Falco wants the ball because when the game is on the line, winners want the ball. He's like, who should I pass it to? Brian, who's the deaf guy, is like, me. So they're also, I will say at the beginning when the guy was trying to ask him where he learned football, he said it from his father. That was what the sign meant. When
Oh,
he
I
like
didn't know that. Is that
you
what
have
that
your
means?
hand and you touch your thumb to your forehead, that's father. Mother's
Oh,
done
okay.
here. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
a little sign language. But anyways, he says me. So they are running the play, and Shane in the huddle also signs the play because he's not an a-hole like Martell.
No.
Um,
And he just happens to know sign
yeah. Well, maybe he learned enough
language.
to communicate a play.
Okay,
The
I'll
play is
give him
just like
that.
four nonsense words, anyways.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, that's
some of
true.
them are
Yeah.
numbers. So
Yeah.
like, but
Omaha.
I don't know how to do Omaha.
I was gonna
You
say,
just
how
have
do you
to like,
sign Omaha?
they probably just make up a sign for that.
Probably.
Anyways, they run the play. He catches the ball in the end zone, touchdown. The Sentinels win. The Sentinels are going to the playoffs, even though none of these people are going to be playing. But like, they did
Hmm.
it, right? Um, It's funny because the owner's like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew we could do it." It's like, man, you were
I
talking
know
about get rid of these people and give me Martell, so you better
exactly.
stop.
Yeah.
Um, it's also really nice that they play "Heroes" by David Bowie, although it's a
Mm.
cover because it's definitely not David Bowie's voice
Oh,
singing.
okay.
It didn't sound like David Bowie to me at least.
I didn't. Yeah. I okay. I missed. I remember
Because I'm
this.
used to hearing him being like, "We could be heroes," like that
Yeah.
voice, and it didn't sound like that.
Didn't
But
sound like that.
they're playing the song,
They probably
which
didn't
is
have the
like
money.
it is a good like
Oh yeah.
the vibe is perfect for that moment. Shane and Annabelle kiss, great. And then that's it for them. And we get Gene Hackman's voiceover, and he's talking about like even though like that was it for them, they were part of something great, and greatness stays with a man. Every athlete always wants a second chance, and these guys got one, and they made the most of it.
Yeah.
So, and then at the end, they all do the electric slide to "I Will Survive" in the end zone.
So, I did like Shane's. Remember in the huddle, he said, "Fellas, this is the time when I should be giving you like a big, speech and stuff about, how we're going to come through and all this." And he says, "Pain heals, chicks dig stars, glory lasts forever."
It's been an honor to share the field battle with you.
Exactly. So I love that. So
That
pain
was great.
heals, chicks dig stars, glory lasts forever.
Yes. That should be on a poster.
It
I would
should
hang that
be.
up. Put that in
Yeah.
a locker
Yeah.
room,
Exactly. I'm thinking a T-shirt. I'm thinking I might
Right.
have. Yeah, I
I'm
might
gonna
have
tell
to
my
get.
dad to print that out and put it in the locker room.
I'm. Yeah. Maybe I'll do the pain heals. I'll get it. Oh, that'd be a good tattoo. Pain heals.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
just saying. Anyway.
Yeah. Glory lasts forever. It's an honor.
So
I love Keanu Reeves' voice because he sounds like he sounds like
well, he does. He's sort of
been an
that.
honor to share the field of battle with you.
I know he's got that laid back.
Ted, is he Bill or Ted? I always forget.
He's Ted, isn't he?
He's Ted, yeah.
Yeah,
Alex
he's Ted.
Winter is. Yeah, he's Ted. But he that's just like his next, like it's exaggerated in Bill and Ted, but like that is the
Yeah,
kind of he does. I mean, he doesn't sound like that in like The Matrix because he's obviously like crying. But like it does
right.
sound like his natural voice is just that. Like this other movie that came up that Amazon suggested to me after I finished this, which was another movie that I loved of his in high school called Hardball. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No.
He
What's the name of it?
Hardball. He like starts coaching. I think he's like in trouble and he has to coach for community service or something. He coaches like an inner city
No,
baseball
it's
team
oh, okay. No,
called
no,
the
I don't.
Cucumbas, not cucumbers, the Cucumbas. But he sounds that way there too. He's like the Cucumbas. I'm coaching the Cucumbas. Um, that's my best attempt at Keanu.
Keanu.
Um,
It's pretty
yeah,
close.
thank you. But yeah, that's the replacements. As we said, in retrospect, not the greatest movie. Also, again, full anti-union propaganda. Like the replacements are the heroes in this movie. No, they are the villains. They are the villains of the story. In real life, they are the villains.
Okay, if you want to play it that way, if you want to,
You want to believe in union labor.
yeah, exactly. If you, all right,
The
if you
replacements are not the
feel
villains. The owners are the villains. The
that,
owners
well, I
should
was
be the
going to say,
villains.
yeah, exactly. That so the players are not the villains. The scabs aren't the villains. They're just trying to make a living. The owners are the villains.
Owners who are exploiting them
Right,
so that they
exactly.
don't have to pay more
Yeah, to
to
get
the
a
players. Yeah.
so they can cut into their what $1 gazillion profits.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
Anyways,
shame on you, corporate America.
exactly. But yeah, that it. I think we covered everyone who's in it. There's one small cameo that I didn't mention. The
Oh,
spokesperson, like the president of the Players Association, is Keith David, the actor Keith David, who is
oh,
another
is it?
person that's been in a million things.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, he has been
Um,
in a million things.
you've either seen his face or heard his voice probably a million times
Oh
because he's
gosh,
been
yeah.
he was in The Thing, Platoon, Roadhouse, Armageddon, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He was in American Fiction. He's been on Community. He was on the show Greenleaf. He has narrated a bunch of Ken Burns films. He was the bad guy in Princess and the Frog. Um, he's done voices in Coraline, Gargoyles, Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, Halo, like a bunch of video games, Call of Duty, Halo, Mass Effect. So like you have seen this man and or heard his voice at somewhere. And I was like, oh, when he was because you only see him at the beginning when he's like
Yeah.
the strike is happening. I was like, oh, he's David. Look at that.
Wonder how many zeros were in that check for like what 10 seconds on
For
film.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, I think that this movie probably, I think the funny moments stick out to me. I think the fact that it was filmed here and that like my dad got to see them
Yeah. No, I
practicing
can see
stuff are reasons
exactly.
why it like stood out to me. Again, watching it now, I'm like, okay, you know, is this a, could I have picked a different football movie for this plot? Perhaps. But you know what? It
I liked
was
it.
meaningful to me for a reason. Um, as an adult, I recognized that first of all, I was being brainwashed. Um, I'm sure that like Jerry Jones financed this movie, or like Robert Kraft,
Right.
NFL owners were financing this um, to try to make them not look like the villains.
Not look like the
And
dicks that they really are.
yeah, is it the most well written thing? No, but I think if you haven't seen it and you want something that'll just make you laugh, that you maybe don't have to pay super close attention to plot wise, this is it. It's got a bunch of great people in it that are very funny. Like I said, I think for me, Reese Ifans and John Favreau, Orlando Jones, like hilarious
Yes.
in this movie. So
Agreed.
funny. And
And
other people have funny lines too, but I think for me, there is kind of top three.
I wondered how and I brought it up before we started, talked about recording, but Gene Hackman was 70 years old at,
Mhm.
for this, and Jack Warden was 80. So it's like, and actually, I think they both look pretty good for their age, considering.
I wonder how they got them for this movie because they're
Well,
like kind of legendary actors, and this
I
movie
wondered
is
that too.
silly.
I thought the same thing. I thought, was this a money grab, for these guys, or was this like, hey fellas, would you like to do a fun movie, and
Mhm.
not have to worry about, you know, whether or not you're going to be nominated for an Academy Award or anything, and
For this one.
yeah, so yeah, so or
Maybe Dean wanted to do another sports movie. He was
it
like, "Oh,
could be,
Hoosiers was fun. Let me do. Maybe this will
yeah,
be as good." And
it's
then
good.
Dean's like,
So
"No."
plus, I get to see strippers as cheerleaders. So
There
just
you go.
saying. Yeah. So, but
There
I don't
you
know.
go.
But no, I'm like you, is like, is this a movie I would watch, over and over again? Probably not. But you know what? It for an, how long was it? Hour and a half, maybe a little,
That's 2 hours.
almost 2 hours. It was fun. It was, it was escapism,
Mhm.
it wasn't like you said, you didn't have to follow the plot, for every second. So it wasn't like an Alfred Hitchcock masterpiece or whatever, but it was, it made me laugh out loud several times. I still, with the guy shooting the car, that was great. That was terrific.
Yeah, I think one of the funniest times. I love the "I Will Survive." Every time they play "I Will Survive,"
Oh yeah, breaking
it
out in
makes
the electric slide.
yeah, it makes me laugh. I think of the part where the deaf guy keeps dancing. Like I always think of that.
Yeah,
And the part
that's
where they
good.
like the throw up and they have to move the huddle.
Oh
Like
God.
those are two things that I think about. Like they were especially funny to me when I was a kid, and I still think that they're funny when I watch it
So
now.
now, when you went to the movies, I'm assuming your dad took you to the movies. Did he cover your eyes when they showed the cheerleaders on?
No, probably not.
No, probably. Not. So
Did he have? Perhaps.
perhaps,
Did he?
and so for our listeners out there, come on, fellas, y'all, you know that you're going to sit there and you're going to pause that scene. You're going to sit
Mm.
there and like,
You're gonna be like the guys in the audience who were all just like,
right,
they're like
exactly,
the wolf from like the cartoons with the hard eyes, like a ooga ooga ooga. Yeah,
or
you
like
know.
the mask. You're going to be
Exactly.
like Jim Carrey out in the mask. So
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, if you got the high def TV, fellas, go ahead, put it on pause or whatever if you if you feel like you can handle it. So, but
If you want a silly football movie that's capitalist propaganda, this is it for you. I'm gonna keep saying it.
exactly
Sorry, it's
fits
capitalist.
fits.
It's propaganda. And
Well,
watching it now, I'm like, can't believe they were trying to make me think that people on strike for better wages are the bad guys.
bad guys. That's
Obviously,
right.
Martell is and his like few guys are total dicks, but also in real life if someone was striking for better wages and someone was a scab and they did that, I wouldn't be that mad at them.
No, yeah. I mean, you like, and to me though, like also, I feel like that it's not, the scabs are just trying to get a paycheck, and you're right, you shouldn't cross the picket line, but people got to eat, and so, and I'll go. So it'll be a movie that we'll watch. It was about coal miners. So back in the day when they struck, when they tried to unionize and stuff, and then but there were, the coal miner owners were the bad people. So
Yeah, good. See, they have it correct. They
yes,
needed a
so
they needed a Norma Ray in this
y-
movie.
well, yeah. So
Well, I think that we have probably exhausted anything anyone could say
yeah,
about the replacement.
I think so. So it was cute.
It's
It was
not that deep.
funny. No, and Keanu was probably at the height of his powers, until he became John Wick.
Yeah, he looks great. Hair looks lovely.
I think this was like prime Keanu. Come on, he's
Yeah.
coming off the Matrix and Bill and
And
Ted.
you know what? I think a lot of quarterbacks now have got longer hair. Perhaps they were inspired by Shane Falco.
Maybe, could be.
They
I
were
mean,
like,
he
I want to
does.
be able to. What's the one from the Jaguars? His name Trevor Lawrence. He's like, I want to
Yeah,
take my helmet off and look like
shake
a
it.
shampoo commercial.
I have to admit, he looks more like a quarterback than the guy that played Martell does. Just saying.
Well, yes, he looked like an appropriate age to play
Age
quarterback
and
in the
and, and sort
NFL.
of the build. He's kind of he's wiry. You know, he's
Wiry.
wiry. It's anyway. So
But
yep,
yeah,
good
at least
choice.
at the very least, I think let you discover people who are funny that you can watch another thing too. You know, find Reese Evans funny and then go watch him be a kind of similar character in Notting Hill.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Maybe just he's also in Tidy Whities a lot in Notting Hill.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it so you can get all of our future episodes delivered directly to you. You can leave us a rating, review, especially if it's nice. If it's not nice, shout it into the void. You can follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. You can see all of the other movies that we've talked about. We post little clues of what's to come and sometimes other things that come up that relate to the movies we talked about. And with that, bye bye.
Take care.